Hello everyone, and welcome back to Worlds 2022 at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden. Now with half the group stage already complete, North America is still hungry for their first win. And for Cloud9 and all of Group A, today's matches provide the final chance to battle their way into the quarterfinals. As you can see here, the arena already packed to the brim, plenty of support. And we're also very, very happy to be welcoming back Emily Rand to the desk. Emily, it's so good to have you.
Yeah.
Things are going swimmingly here at Worlds for North America, so I'm glad you could rejoin right as you
it looks like
hitting our
it,
stride,
you know?
So.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
All right, let's take a look at how the meta's been breaking down at Worlds so far. We are all the way up to 101 champions picked, banned. The presence is pretty phenomenal. The most ever in history here at the World Championship.
Yeah,
Emily, you've had the benefit of watching from home, getting the macro overview. What's been your impression so far of the way the meta's shaping up?
I mean, I think it's really cool because everyone kind of came with very different ideas, and it also means that it makes every draft really interesting depending on bans and then what gets locked in first, because there seem to be multiple ways to play and also multiple ways to counter that.
Yeah, I think that's the really cool thing, especially when you look at like the jungle matchups, right? We've seen obviously Maokai super high up there, but even when you look at Maokai, he's been flexed to top lane. When you look at teams like Rogue, then there's even teams that are just abandoning Maokai altogether, like some of the LCK teams, because they're looking at like, hey, we want the Graveses, we want to be these farming oriented junglers. So I think it's been really cool to see that across the board, the teams get to show their identity and how they like to approach League of Legends, and why I think we're seeing so much back and forth over which teams are coming to the top, because I mean, you can play your style and kick off really well with this.
Aatrox, still the champion, Presence King. The other champion I wanted to call out is, while still one of the most banned champions in the tournament, Caitlyn sits at a 2-5 record, which is very interesting to me.
And I think that's because in order to execute a Caitlyn lane or like a Caitlyn Lhuckz lane, it does require kind of specific attention to that lane, I think, and how you want to play around it, despite the fact that she is still good in late game team fights. So I think when we see teams bring out that lane, the execution isn't always there.
Now, while the next 4 days of the group stage will sport one group per day, we're going to refresh by taking a look at the standings for all of the groups first. So it is that Group A, three-way tie for first at 2-1 between Edward Gaming, Fnatic, T1, and then Cloud9 still hunting for their first win at 0-3. That group will play today, so let's first take a look at the rest. We got JDG still up top the table in Group B at 3-0, just like Royal Never Give Up and Rogue, all undefeated, topping their group. Any surprises for you in particular, Emily, when it comes to the group stage and the standings we see so far through 1 week of play?
I'm very pleasantly surprised by Rogue. They've been playing really, really well. I know they themselves even said, oh man, we didn't come out and expect to play as well as we did. And that's really cool because I feel like they're the European team that people have kind of doubted the most, or at least you have these two historic orgs with massive fan bases in Fnatic and G2. And it's also been really cool to see Rogue, you know, punching out and being like, we're here and we're really good.
I mean, for myself, I'm pleasantly surprised by Group D. RNG coming in from the plains didn't look so hot. A lot of doubts tossed their direction about how they would fare in this group, and to see them sitting 3-0, looking brilliant at the end of week 1, I'm delighted to see that RNG have kind of found their footing in this meta when we weren't sure if they actually ever would.
A couple of quick notes for you all at home today. One of our players in EDG's Scout will be playing from isolation as he unfortunately tested positive for COVID. There are a few other groups who, of course, are not playing today that are also affected. And so the same kind of stipulations will be in place for when they step on stage over the course of the next few days. From here, though, we wanted to do something which was a little interesting, and this was Dagda's idea, taking a look at all of the previous World Championship winners and where they were at this stage of the tournament in the past on their way to hoisting that trophy.
I just think it's really cool to have a look and see how these teams have developed and kind of what was the expectation for these squads, especially after week 1, right? And you can see almost across the board, it is a first place finish after week 1 for a huge amount of these teams. And that was kind of when we looked at a lot of these squads, historically, they were favorites to win the tournaments, they were favorites to move on. So not very surprising to see how many of them ended up in first place pretty much across the board. But I think, Dash, you were kind of looking at week 2 is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, so I'll add to this, right? This is the halfway point of the group stage, and as you can see, only 2 teams found themselves in second place at the end of week 1. Of all of our World Championship winners, 3 teams found themselves in second place at the end of week 2. And in fact, that would only be Samsung Galaxy there in 2017, IG in 2018, and Edward Gaming just last year. So while they were 3-0 at the beginning of their group stage tag, they fell to second and then still took the Summoners Cup.
And the funny thing was that team that they came in second to was T1, who they're currently fighting in Group A. So it feels like history repeats itself sometimes in the World Championship.
Yeah, it does, especially when T1 wins as many titles as they do. But that's how they were doing then. Let's talk about how some of our world champions are doing now.
Yeah, I think that's the big one, is the kind of looking at how these teams are developing. Because I think looking at EDG, right, a lot of question marks around these guys, especially as they are the current champions that are trying to defend their title. I think that's where it gets super interesting to see how they are going to try and fare up. You can see them kind of sitting down at the bottom there, where they were 3-0 first in 2021 in their group, but second in groups 2 or week 1 as well at the moment. But I think looking at guys like FLICKR, Impact, a lot of these championship players that have been around for so long, you can see it's a very different story, especially for guys like Impact.
I'm just obsessed with the idea that FLICKR has to be on the graphic 3 times
Yeah.
because we have to track all of his trips to the title.
And another team I do want to point out, just looking at this, is Damwon Kia, just because you see their players all in there. And I also think one hot take I didn't get to have on the desk.
Wait, do we have a flaming hot take?
No.
Yes,
We don't have to do it.
Well, hold on. Everybody stand by.
So my hot take from
Flaming hot take.
Nice, let's go. My hot take from not seeing anything that I was gonna do on day 1, right, if I hadn't gotten sick, was that Damwon Kia were gonna win Worlds just based on like the meta.
Okay.
And I think they've looked really good, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, I
They
figured
are
I'd
sitting in
point that
prime
out.
position, and as Emily has a flaming hot take, it's a perfect transition for us to dive into some week 1 overreactions, as we
Ooh.
always love to do on our broadcast here in LoL Esports, is take a very small sample size of games and then just index entirely behind them. So let's dive into some overreactions. Dagda, I believe we're going to start with you, sir.
Yeah, so you might need a little hit of that once more, because
I'll happily take another hit of that.
so my one comes a little bit inspired from an I Will Dominate tweet, which was, I don't believe that NA will take a single tier 2 tower all groups long, because they have not taken a single tier 2 tower.
no.
Week 1,
I need another
I want to see what they're going to look like week 2, because it has not been going for what for
tier
NA.
2s, not a single
Not
one?
a single one in week 1.
In 9 games.
Yeah. No tier 2s were taken.
Oh, please no.
Yeah.
I don't even know if this is full enough for me to endure 9 games of no tier 2s. I gotta believe NA is gonna step it up just a little bit more.
I don't know. It hasn't looked so hot for them, right? The read and the meta hasn't been there for a lot of their squads. Like, the closest that they got to was against CFO, where there was like a quarter of a H bar left.
Right.
But
Yeah, but what about, like Blind Squirrel finds a nut, Broken
yeah,
Watch tells a time.
It's best of
right,
one.
Twice a day, like, come on. Like, we gotta hit a tier 2 at some
you hit
point,
that
right?
real good, didn't you?
I did.
yeah,
You can
the
see it in
stuff
my
must
face.
be
Like,
strong.
I'm like a little woozy. All right, from here, we're going to the LEC. I was told I'm supposed to take Vedius's overreaction, but I don't know what his overreaction is. So,
I'm gonna.
Europe's gonna win Worlds. Producers just passed along me. Vetty was supposed to be on the show with us today. Unfortunately, he's under the weather, so I'm going to be the representative for the LEC in this scenario. Love those screams, by the way. Of course, LEC is gonna win Worlds. Have you seen us play? We're so good. Fnatic, Rogue, G2.
How does it feel to be a trainer?
EU teams. It feels great.
It's like Vedius is right here.
It's kind of nice knowing that we've got some wins.
True.
Right?
There you go.
That's all I have for you guys. I don't really know why he thought LEC was going to win the world title, but it's an overreaction segment for that reason. Emily, please help us out with the LCS and an overreaction as well.
Mine isn't LCS.
Oh, damn.
Mine
That's
is on,
unfortunate.
yeah, mine is on Top Esports, and it's that they are, the worst team to come out of LPL, which is actually not true because my side
Wait,
of it.
what?
Yeah, there
Did
you
you
go.
just undercut your own overreaction by
No,
saying it's
I'm
not
saying-
true as quickly as you said
So
it?
I'm saying this is an overreaction that I've seen, and I'm
Oh.
saying it's not true because they're playing exactly like they did in
Okay.
LPL.
Spread it around.
yeah.
Spread it around, baby. Spread it around. Okay,
There's
so
nothing
explain.
different except they are losing, right?
Oh, God.
I still think that we see them take
Okay.
the same risks and they haven't paid off, right? Like they come down to a lot of those things and we haven't seen them pay off. So,
Playing exactly how you would expect them to. Just the results maybe
The
not
results
what
are not
you
there,
have
yeah.
expected. All right, that brings us to our standings here for Group A, the only group that'll be on stage today. It's a 3-way tie at 2-1. Edward Gaming, Fnatic, and T1. Cloud9 for North America, the 1 seed. out of the region, sitting at 0-3. And so I want to talk about some takeaways from what we've seen so far here at Worlds, particularly when it comes to the meta, because as we've mentioned, different regions seem to have very clearly different reads, or at least did in week 1. And of course, I'm curious to see, with that little bit of time between week 1 and week 2, who's going to adjust to who? Really, which meta will reign supreme?
Yeah, and I've been loving the bot lane meta, how it's kind of developed, because a lot of these champions that we expected to be dead coming into Worlds have had a resurgence, right? And I think specifically when we look at the LEC, it's the Lucian and the Nami in the bot lane that have been really impressive to me. Taking the first strike on that summon area is still giving you a lot of pressure on this bottom side, even though the electrocute isn't still there to proc the Lucian as heavily. And we're seeing teams play super well around it, right? You get these early leads thanks to some early skirmishes or a bit of an upset, as we see here in the bot side for Fnatic, and suddenly you can still have that raw power that you bring to the table, especially when it looks towards the laning phase, but also just bringing Cullings in, poking members off before fights. It's still been incredibly strong, regardless of the nerfs that came through.
Yeah, the mermaid is still very much alive. Emily, I was promised that I wouldn't have to watch the cat at the World Championship, and I've had to watch a lot of cat games.
Yeah, sorry to say, Yuumi is not dead. And I'm going to point it out as kind of an LEC, or an LCK thing, rather. The first team to play the Sivir Yuumi in groups was T1. And I think you see a lot of LCK teams still be willing to lock the Yuumi in. It's kind of spread already throughout groups. And I think, you know, we already know what she offers. The nerfs were not enough. You're going to still see more of her. I'm so sorry.
Somebody's got to come up with an answer sooner rather than later. And so while the cat is very much alive, if we hop on over to the jungle, Dagda, I can't ignore the fact that Viego seems to see a lot of play from the LPL team.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting to see how he's used as well, because so frequently you see him going for these early skirmishes where he's able to utilize the fact that he can start to get these resets, become that late game scaling carry. And I think teams like RNG's Way has worked this very well in the past, both in LPL and now at Worlds. We're seeing it from Kanavi as well, where he's been able to get a ton of these early skirmishes going his direction as well. And once you start to get the ball rolling with Viego, it very quickly starts to snowball completely out of control. I think that's why LPL have been so good at using him, because they like to take these early fights. They want to find these early skirmishes and get this Viego into position where he can carry.
Now, well, that's basically a slew of champions that we think we've identified look very strong in the tournament, brought to the table by multiple different regions. We also have to talk about some of the picks that have left something to be desired, Emily.
Yeah, so LCS teams came in, and they came in with this trio of Sejuani, MF, and Fiora as things that they were really, really hyper-focused on. Now, Fiora, we've seen other teams bust out, and that obviously comes down to a lot of skill and how you're going to play your side lanes. But this specific trio did not work out so well for LCS teams. A lot of it does come down to execution and not necessarily the strengths of the picks in a vacuum. But I think another thing that comes out of this is that obviously every single region scrimmed differently, right? Because typically there's a little bit more time. We see EU and NA teams going to Korea to boot camp, and this was kind of the result of North American teams coming to the table and what they thought was going to be strong, and it really has not worked out well for them.
Yeah, maybe in contrast to previous World Championships, a few more pockets, or at least more definitive pockets of scrims have kind of resulted in 3 to 4 very distinctly different takes on the meta in week 1 of groups.
And that's why I'm really curious to see what C9 is now going to come to the table with today, right? Because they're going to have a very different story from what we saw in in week 1 of groups, because it feels like you've got to now adapt to what the LPL and the LCK are bringing to the board.
And I think we even saw that from their final game, right, where they did adjust the draft. They had more scaling and team fight options. They still didn't end up winning that game, but I do think you have seen a slow draft adjustment. So now, it's going to be really cool to see what teams have coming out of the break. Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's just the hopium talking, but at least from the perspective of Cloud9, again, when we talk about the meta that they qualified to the World Championship with and won the LCS, Sivir Yuumi, now whether or not they can secure that kind of a duo in the bot lane 3 games in a row today in order to have a shot of making it out, I don't know. But at least what seems to be strong in the meta actually does play back towards Cloud9's strengths regionally. And so I definitely wonder whether or not they're going to have that. And then likewise, what does anybody else come up with this in terms of counters to all the strengths of these picks? Because that's the other piece of week 2, is always somebody bringing out something inventive. And in a best of 1, all you need is to flip the result of 1 game to make your way out of groups.
Yeah, and that's why I love watching how this World's meta develop, because you definitely start to see, obviously, the regional diversity that we've talked about. But even when you think back to like super old school, like we had the Tsar in the bot lane where the Misfortune came out, like these kind of things really cool. That are just super exciting to watch and suddenly completely change the switch. They change how you have to think about the game. And that's why I love watching Worlds, because we kind of have this mash of regions coming together and kind of seeing what comes out on top.
Yeah, 6 games to play today, and they all come from Group A. Let's take a look at our schedule. We kick things off with Fnatic versus Cloud9. We follow that up immediately with a T1 versus Fnatic game. So yes, some of our teams will be playing 2 games in a row. As you can see, it'll be EDG's turn after that against Cloud9, and then Fnatic to round out Fnatic's first 3 games of the day, T1, Cloud9, and then we close things out with EDG versus T1. Now, as we turn our eyes to our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, my mind immediately goes to the mid lane matchup. It's FLICKR on one side, it's Humanoid on the other, who has been an absolute all-star for this Fnatic squad.
And that's the really important part here, is that it feels like FLICKR has to take that years of expertise and try and control Humanoid in that mid lane, so Humanoid doesn't pop off like he has been for Fnatic.
And the really interesting thing is going to see like what they put FLICKR on, right? Because Humanoid's been able to get a lot of his power picks, like the Azir specifically, which he like very first on in his career was the champion that he was playing up in the solo queue to make his way up in the solo queue ladder. And I want to see, because we've seen FLICKR on facilitative picks, but then we've also seen him on the Akali.
He's been everywhere already.
So
yeah, it's Humanoid one-tricking so far at the tournament, and not because that's all he can play, it's because no one's taken him off of it yet. So my big curiosity is either do you pick away the Azir, ban it, or does FLICKR show the counter that we've yet to see here at the World Championship? Because Viktor's been played most of the time and goes down in lane almost essentially every time it's in that matchup against Azir. With game 1 being yet another battle, though, between EU and NA, I wanted that regional rivalry and sense of competition to be reflected here on the desk. So we've got our 2 NA reps. Dagda will be representing the LEC in that sense.
Why is this 2v1?
Well,
what is this?
It's Vedius abandoned you. It's not our fault that Vedius is a scaredy cat.
Hang on. I'm going to go. All right, hang on. You come here for a sec. I'm going to need a little bit of help on this one. So if you could take that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Kadril's here to save the day. Hello, Kadril. Good to see you.
I just got pulled in here out of nowhere.
Well, you've been pulled.
Tried to do a 2v1. I was like, this is not fair.
All right, 2v2.
Yeah,
you've been pulled. NA versus EU trivia. So here's what we're doing. We're splitting the desk into 2 teams. Obviously, myself and Emily will be representing NA. Team EU is going to be Dagda and Kadril. Here's the thing. The questions are going to be asked to specific teams. If they get the question right, they get a point. If they're unable to answer correctly, the other team will have an opportunity to steal that point. Winner gets to add a point to the official NA versus EU record here on JoJo the Eagle. So we're playing for some real...
A lot of pressure. And you get to win here at the group.
Well,
maybe you could be the first.
But we're... right. Hey, I'll take that. I'll be NA's last hope. We're 3-3 on the Eagle right now. So this will be for
we got our little cameras as well. All right, let's get this.
All right, we're going to dive straight in. Since EU are the guests at this event, we'll be gracious hosts and let you guys have the first question. Let's go ahead and see what it is. I'll read it out. Which LCS player has played the most NA versus EU matchups?
Jensen's been to 8 Worlds.
Yeah.
Probably
so
Rift Rivals as well.
By default, it probably has to be Jensen. Because I think he's played the most international games anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking double lift as well, but it's probably Jensen, I think. Anything else?
I'd say Jensen.
Your mind?
No, I'm on the Jensen.
Sneaky could be up there as well.
Ooh, yeah.
Because he played the...
This is the classic, though. He's like...
I know Jensen's the most world
It
appearance,
must be Jensen.
Final answer? Jensen?
Yeah.
They're locking in Jensen. Was that an incorrect sound?
Yeah.
Okay, it's just a very, very light buzzer. To me, that sounds like they're saying it's incorrect. Can I get confirmation? That's incorrect. So we have to... I thought that was a good guess.
I was actually going to go double lift or something.
Double lift, yeah. I mean...
I'll go double lift.
So really, it's about which groups have they ended up in, right? Because that's the reality of it. Like, you have just as many or as close to as many Worlds appearances.
But NA-EU matchup tells me it includes Rifts Rivals, it includes stuff like Battle of the Atlantic.
I'm like, we're not
which I do not remember. Let's go double lift.
Double it? You like double lift? Yeah. I like double lift. I'm going to follow Emily on this one. We're locking in double lift.
Season 1 and
Incorrect or correct?
Oh, incorrect.
Incorrect.
What? Who is it?
And the reveal is Sneaky.
That was our next guest.
I'm sorry, Sneaky. I'm sorry. All right, NA team question next. No points so far. No points so far. And he had played 14 games apparently against EU. That's a lot of games. I wonder what his record was. Which LEC player has played the most NA versus EU matches? Now we're taking the LEC side of the coin.
Ooh. Who's been around for a really long time?
Oh, boy.
Because this is ours, right?
Yeah, this is tough. Does Zven count? Because he's played both sides of the NA versus
Does he
EU
count?
matchup, and at one point he was an LEC player. That's like the big brain.
I feel like they wouldn't do that.
So it's a current LEC player. So I mean, like Caps is not quite around long enough though, because Caps perks are two obviously that jump to mind just because again same thing. They've been to so many international. Yonkos maybe.
Yonkos.
Is that who you wrote down over there?
I
saw that smile. I saw that little smile creep on in Keijo's face.
We are doing nothing
He's
over here.
thinking
Does it
Yonkos.
have to be a current player? Because I would actually guess Reckless.
Ooh, it doesn't have to be. Well, I guess they probably can't give us that clarification, but it has to be an LEC player.
My guess would be Reckless.
But it's been 2 years now since a year and a half.
No, just here. I'll go Reckless.
All right, Reckless. We're gonna lock it in. Emily's smarter than me. That's why
I'm not.
she's in that position, and
But he's been around
I'm in
since,
the read the
IPL
prompter
5,
position.
So
Reckless. Damn. We're incorrect.
What?
All right, a chance to steal here for EU.
What do you think? I trust you.
You're the LEC guy. I'm Moonlight LEC.
I feel like I want to go Caps, but
I think Caps is a good guy.
I think it,
Yeah.
but
Because he's gone deep. Because the other reality is Caps has gone.
It could also be
Because Caps has gone deep.
the one you wrote down.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many times he played against NA teams. So
We can't steal again, so you guys can
Because he's
time
been
it
there
out.
since
Yeah,
the
yeah,
season
Flip
one.
Caps.
I'm super
Yeah,
curious.
we'll go with
to see what
Caps.
Okay,
But
we'll say Caps.
Going with
Yeah.
Caps. They're locking in Caps. Also
Oh,
incorrect.
So
We're
boosted.
both
it is.
running it down.
We are going
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Honestly, so disrespectful to Soaz.
Yeah.
that we
I
didn't
know,
get
I'm
that.
sorry,
None of us
Soaz.
even said his
Good
name.
old
I'm
Soaz.
sorry, Soaz,
Oh.
because yeah,
Did you
absolutely.
guys also
But-
write down Reckless on
We
your
had
thing?
X-Peke.
All right.
Oh, X-Peke.
Back over to EU for this one. Which LEC or LCS player has the most total kills worlds all time? Is the clarifier. Worlds all time.
Jesus.
Ooh,
From all
So-
LEC and LCS players, who has the most kills in
Yep.
Worlds?
I think I know.
Either Caps or Perk.
Oh, you're gonna write it? Yeah.
Could-
Okay.
Could be Caps. Could
But
be
it's players who've gone the
Caps
first
We're
has
aligned,
been
we're
to,
aligned,
like 4
we're aligned.
Worlds. Jensen's been to
Oh,
like
Emily
8.
and I
Been to like
we're
8.
confident. They're gonna
Yeah.
get this
Yeah.
wrong. We're gonna steal this.
Yeah, true.
X-Peke.
So by default, yeah.
I feel
Well-
like I want to say double lift. I want to say double lift.
Double lift?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm feeling it.
All right, we go double lift.
They're going with double lift. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. I think
We didn't get one.
we're gonna go ahead and lock this in. The player with the most games played at Worlds outside of FLICKR
Perks.
is Perks. And Perks, we think, also has the most kills out of an LEC or LCS player. Are we correct? We are correct!
Yes!
Woo!
Go!
Let's go!
One point!
I don't know why you subbed me in. I'm just greeting you. It's like
Where's
doing your
Drake?
promo
Can
thing,
you go
like,
get
you know,
Dracos?
running-
You go get Dracos, actually.
316 kills, worlds all time. Pretty impressive. All right, this one is going
All right, we
to
got
me and Emily. Next question here. Name the 2 players with pentakills in NA versus EU matchups.
Oof.
I forget who Balls' Darius pentakill was against.
Same.
And I just don't know if it was in the U team or an Asian team. I just don't know. But that would be one of my guesses just because it's a pentakill at Worlds, right? And we don't have that many Worlds pentakills.
No.
What were our pentakills and play-ins this year? We had two pentakills. Neither of them were NA versus EU. One of them was for sure a Chinese team. So then the
Yeah.
other one, I don't remember what the other pentakill was.
Not sure.
I don't
If
either.
it was that.
I'm
We have to get
terrible with
both
questions like
players?
this, yeah.
This one feels like a step up in difficulty
Like, I
compared
was
to
just
the
gonna
rest.
wing it out there and just be like, I don't know, sneaky.
So
like,
Balls and Sneaky. Has Sneaky ever gotten a pentakill on World Stage?
I actually don't think so.
I don't think so either. Double if maybe.
One of them is
Balls is the one that...
Honestly,
I'm
it's,
really
it's,
bad with
it's
tracking
actually
this.
hard for me to believe that NA's ever gotten 2 pentakills
I
in
know,
Worlds.
right?
Like, to me, that sounds like an
Well,
overestimation.
Balls is the most obvious one.
Wait.
so-
Also, it doesn't say it has to be NA players. It just says NA versus EU matchups, 2 players.
Oh.
So it could be an NA and an EU player. So I want to go with Balls. Let's just take the shot that that
Okay.
was against an EU team.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not convinced it
remember.
was. And then let's pick an EU player.
The Caps?
Perks, Caps.
feel like
Do we go
Caps
back
were
to
one of
Perks?
them.
You want to go Caps? Since
Yeah.
we did Perks earlier?
Yeah.
Balls and Caps. Balls and Caps.
No idea.
Taking a shot.
Yeah.
Of course we're incorrect. Of course we're incorrect.
One of them is
EU to
definitely
steal.
Balls.
Balls, reckless.
Do you want to say reckless?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we did,
All right.
but let's flip it.
You're going to reckless.
Balls and
Yeah.
reckless.
Yeah.
Balls and reckless.
You're so good.
Oh my goodness! 2014 Fnatic. Oh my
Oh.
goodness! They beat Cloud9. Wait, was that the Cloud9 year? No, that was 2013 when Cloud9 lost to
Wow.
in the
Okay.
quarters. Okay, final round.
Oh,
Okay,
okay, we
teams
got
will
this, we got
teams will alternate. There's a new rule here, so teams will alternate guesses one by one until
Okay.
both teams give consecutive incorrect answers. Okay, so the losing team goes first.
Okay.
Well, who's
Okay.
losing?
No one's
At least-
losing.
No one's losing, so
Yeah.
they'll have to just tell
Okay.
us.
We're
Name the
both
13
equally
players.
terrible.
Okay, name the
Does-
13 players who have represented both LEC and LCS at
All right,
Worlds.
so-
Okay, so we
Worlds.
give
So
one
we
answer at a
balance.
time.
Yeah,
One answer
okay.
at a time. And sorry, which team goes first? Producers? EU's going to go first, so
Perks.
EU will say one first. They're going to say perks, so cross that
Okay.
one out because we're going to make sure.
All right.
Okay, Sven,
Then,
we know for sure.
Okay.
Also correct, so we'll
Mithy?
cross that out. They're going to go with Mithy, which is correct.
I don't think he's
I'm
Worlds.
assuming they'll just tell us we're
Oh, is it-
incorrect when we're incorrect.
This is
No,
Worlds.
it's at
yes,
Worlds, is it?
At Worlds.
Okay,
at
okay.
Worlds.
At Worlds.
At Worlds.
was he at Worlds though?
Oh, Mithy is incorrect.
Yeah.
Really?
So this is correct.
Is it?
Absolutely. Because
okay.
he went
All
with TSM, right?
All right,
So Broken
yeah.
Blade.
Power of Evil.
Ooh, Power of Evil. What a call, man. What a
That's
call.
okay.
Okay. Okay. Who else?
Did,
Well,
No, 'cause he wasn't.
Inspired was in MVP, but did
Yep,
he?
yeah,
So
Inspired is one.
Inspired. That's correct. Okay. Back over to you guys.
Who else was there? Whippo.
Oh,
oh, yep.
Was
Is that
Whippo-
your?
No,
Are
Whippo
you?
didn't make it last year.
Are you? Wait, hold on. You
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
let them lock it
Yeah,
in.
you're right.
yeah. Oh, can we
Can we change it?
change it?
You can. I'll let you
Okay,
change it.
Hooney.
You guys didn't lock it in.
Hooney.
Hooney. They're
Yeah.
calling Hooney, which should be correct. That's correct. Ooh, I like that. Yeah. You.
Hans.
Yep.
Hans
Hansama.
Did they make
Oh.
Worlds? With Hans? No, they
Oh
didn't.
wait. He was. No. He just joined this year in NA.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Wait. EU gets
guys
it. They
even
win.
know
We've
what
only
it
had
is.
one
Wait,
incorrect.
we've only had one
We've had
incorrect?
multiple.
With Immortals,
What?
right?
No, he was on Clutch. He was on Clutch
Oh,
with the Monte and stuff
Yeah.
Oh,
like that.
Hooney, yeah.
Ignar.
oh.
Mm,
Ignar.
that's
Deep.
correct.
That's correct.
Let's go! Oh,
I'm not sure I
right,
understand the
baby.
rules of this game or how you guys won when you answered more
Yeah.
incorrect than us, but fine. EU wins 5-4. We'll spot them the extra one because
Sorry,
they
I
need
ran it down.
All right, well, I gotta go.
Yeah,
Yes,
I appreciate
it was
it.
good
Yeah,
for some
easy
people's
win,
casting
easy win.
in
EU as
in
usual, winning the
T-minus 3
head-to-head.
minutes.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
get ready, my friend, with Captain Flowers. We're going to break down the intro to the first game
This is
of the
one,
day.
too.
We've
Yeah,
got...
he told me it
Oh,
wasn't.
we've got...
Wait, no, it is. In
Yeah,
Worlds.
that's what I thought. Yeah, sorry. Go on, Ed.
It's all right. You guys can talk.
Oh, wait, no, Smithy was on that team. Never mind.
I love how... See, this is what happens when you make analysts play a game and it doesn't get seen
get
through
to
to the
it,
end.
to it.
Now they're just like,
Yeah.
we're going to get this whole list by the end of this all. Okay, we got EU versus NA to kick things off. We got Fnatic versus Cloud9. Let's talk about it because historically, between EU and NA, actually it doesn't look so bad for North America, which is interesting to me because it definitely
Yeah.
does not feel that way.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is when you actually get to the best of fives. That's where it starts to change up. But when you actually look at the matchups, I mean, EU versus NA has always been incredibly close, and it's always been very back and forth, right? And I think that's why even coming into today and the rest of the groups, you still have to keep your eyes on this matchup because it can make or break not only the hopes for the LCS, but also for some of our EU representatives as well.
All right, we only got a couple minutes to go, so I want to break down a couple of key things. Let's start on the side of Fnatic. The reason why, one of the main reasons why they've been popping off so much in this tournament, Humanoid in the mid lane. This guy's a monster.
Yeah, he has been absolutely incredible. And I think as well, the fact that there was a lot of criticism put towards the mid lane as well for Fnatic over the course of the summer split. To have Humanoid step up and pop off the way he has speaks volumes to this player, especially when you look back at Fnatic. They only had a 10% of scenarios coming into week 8 where they even made it to playoffs. Forget about Worlds. That was getting to playoffs. Then they pop off in playoffs as well, finally finding that magic that a lot of people expected. And the fact that now we're getting again Humanoid stepping up on this Azir pick, he has been so crucial to Fnatic throughout this group stage, especially when you look at not only in team fights, but how he's been able to set up Razork in these early stages as well. The fact that you have so much control and push for Humanoid in the mid lane means he's often able to support Razork when he's going for these invades. He's able to move first to keep Razork in check, and it's been so instrumental to keeping Fnatic ahead and snowballing these leads.
Yeah, that's the huge thing is it's not just Humanoid, right? It's Humanoid is playing super well. We haven't seen people really target his picks. And what he does for Razork and that mid-jungle duo is looking incredibly strong.
Yeah, absolutely stellar play on that Azir. We'll see if Cloud9, or what strategy they go for. Ban it, pick it away, or find a counter to it. But that's where I'm going to turn to Emily. It's not just about the Azir pick. There's a lot of stuff I imagine we need to see from Cloud9 if they're going to come away with the victory. Lay me the blueprint. How do we get these wins on the board?
So I have two things for C9. The first is comfort picks. Like you said, there are actually a lot of things that we might not have thought were going to come back in this meta, specifically the Yuumi, but like the Sivir, Yuumi, that kind of stuff. And then late game teamfight answers around Berserker, right? So yeah, those are my two things that I like want to see from C9.
There you have it. Just a couple of ideas from us as Fnatic readies up for this game. They're supporting their EU fans and hosting viewing parties all across Europe. But right now, we're getting a live look at the party happening in London. And as we get a look at that, we're going to be diving down onto the stage. We're going to be kicking off day one of week 2 of the group stage. It's Group A, Fnatic versus Cloud9. Enjoy.
I think for sure we can go really far in this tournament.
Fnatic is way more of a threat than I think a lot of people would have expected coming into this.
We only have 3 more best of ones in groups. And you can always lose best of one against anyone. The way we're losing this year feels, I would only say worse than last year.
It's just going to be Cloud9 hoping for a miracle.
I don't want to go 0-6. That's like a personal hit to my ego. But I'm still really confident. We have a couple days to practice, and I think we can turn it around.
22-minute victory, T1 unleashed on the international stage.
개인적으로 자신감이 좀 차 있는 상태라서 열심히 잘 준비만 하면은 이제 좋은 성적 거두고 좋은 커리어를 시작할 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
T1 have the number of their old rivals.
我觉得现在我们的状态比去年的话35%吧，我感觉我们可以更猛。
This group is shaping up to be an absolute bloodbath.
This group on paper was supposed to be like the group of death with 2 really strong teams. But now, looking at it and playing against them, it's very beatable.
And it's T1 lambs to the slaughter.
기분이 안 좋았는데 다음에 이제 복수할 기회가 있다는 거에 일단 다행이라 생각하고.
Now everyone believes that we can go really far.
Could be everything. Razork now gonna come back. Viper still standing. The damage from the Sivir. She's so Mako. They get it. Fnatic.
我们是石头吧，是因为我们的游戏风格不是个人发挥，我们就5个抱在一起，我们的5个人的一个配合去赢游戏的，对。
Not exactly that tanky right now. Picks the flash. Does Mako and Fudge is gifted another one.
接下来的比赛也很有自信。
I'm hoping that I can step it up, and they still have some fire in them. We are probably gonna stomp you all. Good luck.
我想跟他们说，准备回家。
A조에 잘하는 팀이 많다고 얘기들을 하시는데 이제 A조에서 누가 제일 잘하는지 보여드리겠습니다.
Don't ever say it's over if I'm breathing. Raise it to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far and start walking. Don't ever say it's over if I'm breathing. Raise it to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far and start walking.
Welcome everyone to the second week of group stage play here at Worlds 2022. We are in New York City. We have an awesome crowd here today, and we are starting it off with a banger of C9 versus Fnatic. I am Captain Flowers, and it is my distinct and specific honor to be casting for the very first time on the international stage with Cage.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. This is going to be such a banger. And to kick it off with NA versus EU is just the cherry on top, isn't it? This group is so competitive. C9 yet to get into that race, but 3 teams tied at 2-1. All these best of ones are just so important.
it could be chaotic or it could be settled very quickly, depending on how the first couple of games here today go. North American fans are starving for a win right now, and everybody is hoping that Cloud9, historically the org that gets it done in North America, can find the secret here starting out against Fnatic.
I mean, they made a semis in 2018, right? And they always find a way out of groups. Even last year with FPX and Damwon in their group, they managed to find a way to the quarters. So a lot of pressure on them to pick up a few wins. For NA fans, they need to go 3-0. If they drop a game, they're pretty much guaranteed out because teams are already tied at 2-1. And in a sense, they'll be guaranteed wins depending on how the group plays out today. But it's that man on your screen, Upset. It's Fnatic who are the ones fighting back against T1 right now in this group, fighting back against EDG despite the level 1. We'll see what they can bring to week 2 of groups.
And I talk about Cloud9 being one of those mainstays at Worlds for NA. Hey, Fnatic. You mentioned Cloud9 getting to the semis in 2018. It was Fnatic that crushed them there. It was Fnatic that would make it to the finals that year. We don't talk about the result of it, but it's Fnatic who has also always been such a clutch representative for EU. I am excited for this matchup, buddy.
Really, really excited. And Fnatic's the one team in Europe where they're just known as the non-scrim team because of the amount of issues they've had to overcome to even get here in the first place. I saw a couple stats of, Humanoid versus FLICKR, which we'll see later on the day. But Humanoid's CS difference right now is at 21 at 14, so he's having a storm of a tournament. We'll see how Jensen can deal with him. But we're into draft, and when you think of draft, you think of Fnatic. They've played 3 Azir games so far, and they're on blue side, so that's an instant first pick if C9 don't take that one away, because Humanoid will be prioritizing that so heavily.
All right, Cloud9 going to start off banning away that Yuumi. Sejuani banned out by Fnatic. The desk mentioned how North America came in looking for these like Misfortune, Fiora, Sejuani type of picks. Fnatic are going to say, okay, no comfort there. There's the Azir banned away. You called it out. You can't be letting them have that, especially with that blue side first pick. Varus and Aatrox taken off the table by Fnatic.
Interested to see the Varus ban. I think Varus is yet to pick up a win here at Worlds, and it was I believe 100 Thieves who pulled out the Varus that was actually finding success on it, or EG. So it's other NA teams are actually playing the Varus, but C9 yet to play it here at Worlds. We've seen Berserkers, MF, Aphelios, and Tristana. What's the last ban here for C9? Maokai is another champ I think of when I think of Razork and Flexible for Fnatic, but they're going to leave that one open. They could snatch that. I wonder if C9 has a plan.
C9 has banned Caitlyn every game they have played so far here. They really do not want to go against this champion. I also would place Maokai on a higher priority. I just feel like he's been incredible all over the Rift, throughout play-ins, throughout the main stage here, but it's Viktor, first pick here for Humanoid for Fnatic.
Yeah, Fnatic telling us a story here. When Azir is banned, Viktor Prio goes through the roof. They really want to control mage mid with good scaling, good wave clear. Now it's on C9. How do you respond to this? A LeBlanc lane could work. Looks like they're actually going to first rotate an Ornn, so taking Fudge off of the carries. You've only seen him on Fiora and Jack so far this tournament, but now it looks like they're just going for scaling team fights.
And you know what? I like this a lot, especially up against Fnatic, who Upset has just been so big for. If you pick a top laner that you've got to focus resources into, you're just giving Fnatic a free ticket for Upset to carry the game.
And what C9 have done here is they've targeted Fnatic in a sense where Wunder's only played Ornn and Aatrox. They've taken both away at Worlds. And Humanoid's only played Azir, so they've taken that away. So they've put Fnatic on champs that we haven't seen just yet in the group stage. There's the Aphelios locked in for Upset. C9 could pick their jungler up here. Something like a Trundle would work really well, unless they want to pick up Berserker's AD instead of, dropping bot lane into 4-5.
But every time I see it, man, that Maokai, it's just such a power pick right now. You know Fnatic are happy to get their hands on that, especially with all the CC he offers, combined with Viktor, who loves people to be locked down for the Chaos Storm for the second half of the laser. This combo is very scary, and there it is, the Trundle you're talking about, to sap some of those tank stats.
So they've sacrificed their bot lane a little bit here, C9. I don't think they'll struggle to find AD carries. You can pick up things like Tristana here on 4, a Kaisa. I think they will be okay in finding a marksman. It's just denying supports here from Fnatic. I think Renata ban would be great here if they don't want to play it. Kalista is still up as well if they want to play really aggressive on that bot side. And let's not forget that Maokai is a flex, so they're not really sure if the Maokai is going against Ornn. That's why they banned away the Graves. Fnatic now taking away some aggressive playmaking AD carries.
Alrighty, no Lucian, no Graves here in the second half. Does Cloud9 want to focus a similar type of champion here for the third ban in the second half? Remember, they don't really have a whole lot of flexibility in what they've drafted so far. You're talking about the flex of the Maokai there over on Fnatic's side. Cloud9, we pretty much know what they're going to be going for. They're really taking their time on this one. Okay, Thresh will be their last ban.
So, knowing Fnatic as well as I do, and considering their game against EDG where Flandre picked the Gragas into Ornn, I wouldn't be surprised if Fnatic just go Gragas Renata here on 4-5. That would round out their comp to something that they feel really comfortable with. But do they ban Kalista is the question, or Tristana? Do they try to take away a little bit of these aggressive AD carries and make bot lane a little bit more volatile. They've got the last ban coming in, and they've taken away the Kalista. So that does leave Tristana up for Berserker, Kai'Sa up. I think counter-picking support makes the most sense. If they pick Renata, Nautilus would be a good R5.
Yep, we're expecting an AD carry here. Cloud9, will they lock that one in? That would be, that's your hyper carry angle right there. Trundle and Ornn on the front line.
Oh yeah.
Jynx being the firepower from behind the scenes.
Stock standards, front to back scaling. Looks like that's going to be C9's plan. So I think they'll pick something like Tom Kench up on 5 here just to make sure the Jynx is safe, depending on what Fnatic blind pick here on support.
I mean, we've got 2 immobile, hyper-scaling AD carries going head-to-head in this bottom lane, man.
Yep.
This one's going to go off. I can already feel it. Deep down in my veins, deep down in my blood, there is going to be some action around the bottom lane here in this game.
Yeah, front-to-back positioning is going to be absolutely everything. So Jarvan might be getting picked up here, putting the Maokai top. So this is the first time we will see Wunder on the Maokai. Razork had a fantastic success with the champion. So Fnatic being a little bit more aggressive here. They're saying we could pick Renata Gragas and play front-to-back, but we're going to pick Jarvan to shut down your immobile carries right now. How aggressive does Hilly want to get with this support blind pick? They're playing an Aphelios lane, so a lot of enchanters work well with him, melee supports, but you can pull something out the box like a Pike if you really want to play for early game towards bot side with that Jarvan as well.
How fast and loose is it going to be, Fnatic? Or we'll get the Soraka instead. Okay.
The beauty of the Soraka is Rogue brought it out in the semis and the finals and in the LEC domestically. And the Jarvan ult is the same size, width-wise, as the Soraka E. So you can silence someone in the Cataclysm to stop them from being able to get out of it with their flash, right? So that might be the idea here as well. Attributes a lot to front to back, helps out in that sense. Now does C9 pick up a range support here, Tom Kench and engage support to help be a little bit more aggressive on the spot side to help out the Trundle, but it's going to be Jynx Lulu.
Okay.
Enchanter's bot, tanks top. I don't think I need to describe how these comps work because it's very front to back.
It's very basic League of Legends here. There's nothing super tricky. It's team fight versus team fight.
And I think this is just a good adaptation from C9. They've tried carries top, they've tried the LeBlanc mids, they've tried the MF and the engage supports. None of it's really been working to the sense where they want to repeat it and try it again, but they've just thrown everything out the window and say, let's put Fudge on a tank, let's put Jensen on a scaling mage, and he's comfortable on Berserker and Zven on hyper carry bot, and Blaber can bridge us from the early to the mid to late game, and we'll just play for team fights.
And I'm really liking this for Cloud9. The first Lulu we've seen here at Worlds so far. I saw some people tweeting about like the nerfs being pretty extreme. I think it was Dom tweeting about there's no way that these nerfs have completely taken this champion out of viability. C9's ready to bring it back now. I know a lot of fans are going to be happy to see them picking something that is easier to execute on. And now, I mean, there's so much pressure, man, on Upset, on Berserker both, to have those carry performances and be the cannon their teams have drafted around.
Yeah, the way they dissect the fights and position to shred through the front line will be very important. But it's C9, it's backs against the wall. This is almost a must-win for them. I think it is a must-win to stay in this group stage. You don't want to go home on the first game, and if they can win here and pull off that 3-0, then the miracle run, the week 2 NA could be alive. It'll be the first time we see it. Normally it's week 1 NA that's really shining, and then week 2 is more so EU and LCK as they adapt to the tournament meta. But NA yet to pick up a win, but I really like what they've drafted here.
Alrighty, let's do it. Rock and roll. NA versus EU taking the stage to kick us off in the second week of groups as the players are making their way out of the base. A reminder, Prime Gaming is giving away 150,000. That's right, 150 and 3 zeros to several lucky fans every single day of Worlds. 150 grand in RP. Head over to primegamingworlds22.com to enter and make sure to put in today's secret code to get some bonus entries. But as we go ahead and get the players heading out of the rift, you can see runes, everything here on your screen right now. 2 teleports on each side. They're in the solo lanes. No spell books to change around, have any sort of surprises there. Ghost for Upset on the Aphelios for a little bit of extra mobility versus Berserker just running the standard heal here on the Jynx.
Yeah, no Ignite in bot side for Fnatic, so kill pressure a little bit less. I don't think they'll try to take those 2v2s. They're probably just going to look to scale, as will 8 players in this game. The only 2 that won't really be scaling very well is the junglers, Trundle and Jarvan, and a lot of immobile carries on the map. Pillar and Jarvan, EQ Flash, good lockdown. Looks like Fnatic walking into the bot side river there, just placing a ward. I think they're just covering off Humanoid for any kind of Blaber early gank shenanigans. You can see he's got a ward on the top side entrance of the Raptors. Ward in the bot side river, covers off both angles to deny any early ganks mid, because losing your flash early as a mage just means you have to give up the push.
Never feels good to not have control over their mid wave. Fudge is just going to be waiting here in the brush for Wunder to step up. Wunder attacks second, so he heals a little bit with the sap magic. Just slapping each other around here. Good old-fashioned tank fight, Kadril.
Yeah, two wet noodles just going at it. You'll have to see it. Neither of them really have any kill pressure on the other, but the thing is, if they hit you, you hit them. That's basically how top lane works. Otherwise, you just get pushed in and lose. A little bit of trading in bot. I think we won't see too much kill pressure on either side lane, but it's on the junglers. Razork and Blaber starting top side, both padding towards the bot side. I say that, but Fudge,
they are not stopping. It is just auto attack versus auto attack. A single spell for either one of them. It'll be Fudge hitting level 2 first. Throws out that pillar, but not really anything to follow it up with, as Wunder's just staying back. He's fine. The nice part about being a tank, it doesn't matter as much if you fall a couple of minions behind. You're still always useful. You've always got that team fight power. Both these guys are going to be huge in these fights later on with their ultis. Massive, massive impact.
You're a very low econ, just frontline soak up the damage sponge, right? So, doesn't really matter how far behind you are to an extent, but that's an angry Ornn every time we look at top lane. Fudge getting the better hand of Wunder. And both junglers finishing their second buff here, Blaber and Razork respectively. Zven has the Ignite, can get a little bit aggressive here, but he's going to back off after his combo.
Yep, Berserker steps up after Zven is already retreating, just wants to get a little bit of poke there. Hilly's down to 200 HP, but still healing up there with the potion, not super worried about it. Blaber and Razork going to find each other here as Blaber steps up, throws out the frozen domain, threatening to steal. The silence, the root. Berserker with a flash away early here in bottom lane 2v2.
Yeah, that's 3 summoners there blown from C9. Only Sven's flash is up, so Razork is just getting attracted straight to that bot lane like a magnet. He sees a window and he wants to look for it. The silence doing so much work there to then land the root afterwards. No Ignite for the Fnatic bot lane, but they're forced to use their heal, and they're going to look to push out this wave with the Infernum gun.
Nicely done there, and like we said at the start, Berserker, he's running heal. It's not like this is a teleport marksman, so he's gonna have to walk all the way back down as Fnatic is getting this wave crashed in. Very nice early game here in the lane so far for the Fnatic duo.
Yeah, Razork and Blaber playing a little bit of hide and seek. Razork spots him out with a spear, puts the pink ward on the blue buff brush, just to give it a little bit of information. There's another ward as well on the entrance too, so lots of bot side vision here from Razork. Of course, didn't take the refillable, started with a health potion and a pink. He's gonna go double longsword out of base and go towards the top side crab here by the looks of it. Blaber still yet to base, but it looks like he wants to match. But despite those early flashes in bot, a bit of a quiet game as expected so far. I think we'll start to see a little bit more action in around 3 or 4 minutes when this Herald spawns.
Yeah, the Herald will be spawning. We'll have ultimates available on solo laners. Big damage potential there out of both of them in mid. We already talked about the team fight power of the top laner ultis as well. Once those go buttons are green, I'm with you. I think that's when we're going to start seeing things explode a little bit more, as the junglers are now both back out onto the map. Blaber taking that shop, as you said, after Razork got his, just working towards a little bit of baseline stats. Nobody doing anything too crazy just yet. As you can see, Jensen about to crash this mid lane wave, but it doesn't look like C9 will be able to get a whole lot out of it.
Yeah, Humanoid still yet to base. Jensen's already based and TP'd back, so he probably wants to catch his wave and recall. And with Razork pathing bot, the main window for Fnatic is bot now because of the no flash onto Berserker. But then it's also the window for C9 because Blaber will want to counter gank if they overextend, and he will want to cover them on certain wave states when it's pushing out. So I think both junglers, as expected, still focusing on towards this bot side. Top lane's just a little bit of a farm fest.
Yep.
When they're 6, I think what we can see from top lane is roams from top to mid to look for these mages, but this bot side 3v3 will be everything. Pink ward in the bush, C9 have no vision, but here's the counter gank from Blaber. Will Fnatic overextend and take the bait? I think they just saw him.
Yep, they saw Blaber, just a glimpse of him. A flick there for a second. I believe he showed up. He's still waiting around, seeing if maybe there's anything to find. Razork still standing on top of his own control ward. He knows he's not seen. Sven walking up, but Razork, he's patient. He's calculating. He knows Berserker is the target who has no flash. Razork, it's Blaber who's having to walk away from it now. Razork, he goes for a bad flag, and C9 gets first blood on the Fnatic jungle.
There's the counter gank that Blaber was looking for. Razork was a bit unsure which target to look for. Upset's fighting back against Berserker.
Upset wants to go, but C9 wants him to go home. Hillesong and Upset now having to walk off that one. Upset using the flash there, not getting a whole lot back for it.
First blood goes over to Zven. Blaber's not done just yet. Upset no sums. He's going to look for the pillar here.
Nope, won't be able to get there in time. Fnatic are back underneath the turret. But for C9, for this game, for this draft, for this group, that's a nice start.
Crowd is erupting after that first blood. The early bot side 3v3 goes in favor of C9. Fudge might find Humanoid here, but I don't think there's much to be done as Jensen is on the bot side of mid. But really good awareness from Blaber. The wave's pushing out. Let's cover it. Razork here a little bit questionable. He thinks, I'm going to run past the Trundle here and look for Jynx, but then by the time he realizes she's too far, he misses his combo onto Blaber, flashes over the pillar, but then Blaber matches the flash. Of course, PTA Trundle early can do a lot of damage. Yeah, a bit of a blunder there from Razork, but great punish by C9.
C9 getting it done in what honestly looked like it could have gone either way, with both junglers posturing around, sort of daring the other team to do something. But now, Fnatic, they're sitting at about a 1,000 gold deficit 7 minutes into the game here. Solo laners are now at the point where they all have their ultimates, but teleports are down. Humanoid going to force Jensen back here a little bit as that wave keeps pushing forward. Humanoid will be in control of that. Jensen's going to need a recall here. Razork back up in the top river looking for the Scuttle Crab. Blaber's nearby, but Trundle takes a while on these multi-minion camps, so those chickens aren't going to be cleared away in any sort of efficient manner. Razork has this crab for free, and Fudge is pushed up pretty far in the top lane, but probably not going to get caught overextending here.
I think the beauty for C9 right now is their bot lane sums are back up by 8 minutes, but upsets won't be. So contesting Herald becomes a little bit more complicated for Fnatic. Berserker can stack this bot wave, crash it, run up river as Blaber gets 6 and starts the Herald, and I think they've got a pretty easy play to look for that early objective. Razork still a little bit far away from 6, needs to clear out his top camps, but we'll see how C9 moves around the map because Blaber is on this top side. He might blast cone over there. Yeah, he does, and he sees the crab ward, so he's going to start up this Herald. So early objective looks like it'll be 3 for C9. No, he actually decides to back away. He gets spotted on vision though, so he has just pulled it out instead. Jensen can hover. Fudge is pushing out top, and will Razork contest? He is actually level 6 to Blaber's level 5.
Yeah, the level 6 advantage for Razork here could be a big problem for the Cloud9 jungler. And he did spend his flash in that bottom lane kill, so it's understandable. You've got Hillsong having the ulti here on the Soraka. That's something that's going to matter a lot. Ornn ulti goes through. Razork gets the heal. Blaber's going to survive. Razork dies again. Humanoid dies after. Double kill back over to Jensen. Cloud9 come to life.
They get the Herald. They get 2 kills onto Jensen. Fnatic took the 3v3 with a Soraka ult and they lost. They all focused on Blaber, but they could not get the initial kill. And now we're sitting 9 minutes in the game. C9 off to a very strong early lead.
Huge advantage there for C9. The Soraka ulti, Fnatic thought that's their ace up the sleeve, but it did not do enough.
So Blaber is actually level 5 when this play kicks off. They go instantly onto Razork and try to get him down, but Blaber gets the Herald and levels up, and the Trundle passive heals him up so much that he then ults Wunder as well, so he gets so much resistances and health back into this Trundle, so that he actually does not fall.
That is so important. The King's Tribute on Trundle. When you're just killing monsters in the jungle, or even a champion that doesn't have a lot of health, you see a little bit of HP come back. But the Herald is so tanky. The HP value is so high. That heal is just incredible. And for C9, the timing couldn't have been better. Now for Fnatic, they've got to find their footing here in this game. They've slipped up a couple of times. Cloud9's got the better of them in these couple of skirmishes they've had. So they got to stabilize before this really starts running away from them.
C9 getting the Flowers buff right now, lands in New York, and NA's already off to a good start.
We're in there, baby, let's go!
Let's go indeed. So Dragon's still up, and C9 have this Herald. Fudge has the top push, and this is what we expected from top lane, moving from top to mid to try to threaten the Viktor so Jensen can get a free push, and then he can be the first one to Dragon. So C9 should be able to pick this one up uncontested as Razork's on the top side. The question right now is, where will C9 place this Herald? I think they have really good options in mid and bot. It's just a case of how much value can they get out of either one.
And maximizing that value with a lead, very, very important for being able to see this one through. Jensen dropping the shockwave on Humanoid here in mid. Razork was coming in for a punish, but Blaber has been doing a great job of being there to counter gank when Razork wants to make a move.
Oh yeah, definitely. Blaber has been reading Razork right now, and I think it's just a case of Razork has options. Blaber knows what options he has, so he will match him on the play to stop him from finding those windows. And Jensen using the shockwave there as a kind of poke tool. He doesn't really have kill pressure, but forcing Humanoid out of lane, so he can get it on the minimap a state like this where he can just push out mid, take a free base himself, deny a couple creeps. This is the ideal situation for the Orianna in this control mage matchup because you naturally outrange the Viktor. Fudge hiding on the alcove here. Wunder no flash, and Blaber is around.
Well, Blaber walks over one of those saplings, but Fudge is ready to come in. Blaber has flash to get in range. Subjugate is down. Chop, chop, chop. They're going lumberjacking, and Blaber gets another.
4-0 here, 11 minutes in. Blaber was contemplating a Herald drop there, but not a lot of value to give over to your tanks. Really wants to focus on his carries, so top jungle's gonna base. Really good punish there from Fudge to hide in the alcove as Wunder steps up the way with no flash. Good comms from the top jungle. Kind of quite quiet in these early stages. We'll see if they can bounce back in the team fights in around 3 or 4 minutes when these neutrals spawn, but it's a lot of ults trading in mid to poke each other out, and Blaber's Herald will run out soon, so I expect him to run towards his bot side with Berserker coming out of base to help him get his early mythic.
Zven down here seeing Fnatic crash this wave into the tier 1 turret. Can't do a whole lot about it. Like you're talking about these mythics, getting that power point's gonna be huge. Zven just harassing him as much as he can. Hilly's trying to make sure that Upset can complete the back air.
So Wunder didn't run top, he's run mid. He's actually thinking that Blaber's gonna Herald mid here, so he's hovering around. So I think that's why Blaber is now coming towards his bot side. Herald about to take over. Humanoids, he's taking around the Raptors, or he's thinking about hovering towards his bot side. C9 probably looking for 2 plates here and then backing away. They'll never really get the full tower because Fnatic's here to match.
Yeah.
But a little bit of a gold injection into the Jynx, it never hurts.
Yeah, and they forced down that first plate, nearly getting the second before the Herald charges. So priming that up, getting more than just the 2 plates of guaranteed value. I think if you're C9, you're happy with that Herald usage. Also makes it so they have an easier time breaking that turret away once the plates fall here in about 1.5 minutes. As we go back to mid lane, you can see Jensen still got control there. He seems confident in this 1v1 against Humanoid.
And as expected, right, the mid bots was what we talked about from draft, but if you look at the minimap, the amount of vision that Blaber has just put down alongside Zven to just deny any kind of windows from Razork just helps out so much in C9 contesting the bot push. Now Berserker's got that Kraken Slayer from the Herald, and Jensen can lean to one side. The way mid lane works is if you lean to one side of vision, it's really hard for Razork to actually gap close and get on top of you because he always knows that Razork will be top side. Might have to be careful here though, because Razork's being a little bit cheeky.
Jensen getting the shockwave on Humanoid, but now he's got to be careful. Razork making his way in, goes Hulk! Super! Mega! Death! Rocket! Berserker! Finishes what Jensen started.
Snipes out Humanoid. Razork manages to take down Jensen in a 1-4-1, but kill over to the Jynx, Herald over to the Jynx. Upset quite far behind in gold right now in the AD carry mirror, and C9 managed to pull it off. Looked a little bit dicey. Jensen overextending, but Berserker helps him out.
And as we've been talking about Berserker, we've been talking about this bottom lane. The tanks are just gonna knock each other around here a little bit. But I want to go back to what you said when we saw the very first part of this draft. Cloud9 is not playing a Jax. They're not playing a Fiora. Yep. They're not playing something that demands this attention on the top side. And really, that change in the draft phase is what's let them play around this bottom part of the map and make these plays they've been having.
Yeah, we'll take a look at this one again because Jensen using the ult here to poke out Humanoid. Of course, the range advantage so much in the Orianna's favor. So Razork runs around here, takes a tower shot there, Jensen, but Humanoid thinks, well, my job here is done. Jensen is dead, but it's the rocket here that Humanoid decides to take a recall on and just gets hit right at the top of his head, gets taken out, and you just highlighted it there, Flowers. C9 was playing carry tops, and you can often see their games at the group stage where Blaber's always hovering around Fudge. Now we're seeing him play towards the bot side, leaving Fudge in isolation. Berserker's over 1,500 gold up on Upset, so when it comes to these team fights, the Jynx being ahead always means that she can burn through the front line faster. Right now, C9 taking the Herald. Fnatic can't really find a cross map, a little bit of chunk on that bot tier 1.
But if you're Fnatic, you still have Upset on a hyper-scaling AD carry. This guy has been a pretty standout performer so far, had some incredible performances. So if you're Cloud9, you can't get overconfident. You can't get too excited, too hyped just yet. They gotta keep things going, keep this pacing up. That pacing is gonna continue with the second Herald summoned up in the top side, the turret forced down. 15 minutes into the game, Cloud9 is going to find first turret. And you know what, Pedro? The sad fact of us, North America, as a region, not taking a tier 2 turret in all of week 1 groups, Cloud9, I believe, will surely be able to break that here in this game because they are doing beautifully so far. Jensen getting dunked. Razork keeping him locked down. Zven comes in. Jensen gets killed, and it's Humanoid getting paid.
Carries of C9 need to be very careful. They're extremely strong, but they don't have many defensive tools, especially Jensen without the flash, and that's a Jarvan Cataclysm into a Viktor ult. There's no way for you to survive it. Now Fnatic thinking about collapsing onto this dragon. They're lacking a couple of ultimates, but it is a numbers advantage. Actually, Upsets towards the top side, so it might just be a 4v4 down here.
Yeah, 4v4 with those ultis spent like you're talking about means Fnatic knows Cloud9 is going to get this objective. So it is a trade of mid laner for Drake. Cloud9 taking the Drake in that one. Upset's got free firing time in top. Hilly wants to get away. Flash will escape the pillar, and C9 will get a summoner spell from the Fnatic support.
Jensen defends the top tower, TP's up there. C9 contests his mid wave. Upset's probably just going to push out top here and take a base. Still 16 minutes in, he hasn't got his mythic, but he probably has a lot of gold in his inventory. No neutral objectives now for the next 3 minutes. It's just going to be a vision game, but Fnatic yet to crack a tower here. And when you get that tower down, you can push waves in deeper, get deeper vision, and it just allows you to play the map a lot easier. It's just a case of whether Fnatic can find that. Both side towers are extremely low, but Upset's going to take his recall. First mythic's coming in.
Yup, we've got that Gale Force for the Aphelios. I love this choice on the champion, especially considering the lack of mobility in the kit. It gives him outplay potential, gives him execute potential. Aphelios with Gale Force is the Chad Aphelios build, and I'm always happy to see it. So Upset having that extra little bit of playmaking could be very important here. Honestly, mythics on the board just across there for everybody except Hylissang. Soraka has not been able to quite find enough money for that one just yet. But where are we expecting the next bit of action to be? Is it just going to be a nice slow game like you've been talking about so far until the objectives, or do you think they're gonna keep trying to push this for C9?
Well, whoever gets mid push can start to accelerate the game. This is what happens. C9 pushes in mid with their bot lane, moves into the bot side jungle, puts down wards, threatens a dive onto Wunder, and then Fnatic have to cover. But it's very hard to cover because your bot lane has to catch the mid wave and Humanoid's top, so C9 will get this bot tier 1 very easily. That's just called a very simple shift from mid to bot. Happy days. Now the question is, can Fnatic cross map it? That top tower is extremely low, so they'll be able to answer pretty easily, but C9 can play on 2 lanes. So they've gone from mid to bot, and now they'll go through mid to hit this tower, and they can pick this one up as well, unless Humanoid decides to TP behind them.
Well, C9 are just straight going for it. Hylissang is stuck. The traffic cone blocks the road, and C9 get the mid lane turret and the support as the cherry on top.
Hilly getting caught there, no flash from earlier like you highlighted. C9 just kind of walk up to Hylissang and say, hang on a second, what is this guy doing? Is he flanking on Soraka? What's his goal here? Razork might be in a little bit of trouble.
Getting jumped on there by Fudge, manages to get away with the EQ, does not have to spend a flash. Very, very important there.
So all outer towers are down here for Fnatic. C9 have picked them all up so they can push in waves deeper and get deeper vision. Now the question is, can they play for tier 2s? And I think it'll be quite difficult given the amount of wave care that Fnatic have. Now it's just an option of fighting over neutral objectives. 2 minutes, 30 seconds on that Cloud Dragon will put C9 on soul point. They've picked up the first 2 dragons of the game.
Yep.
And Fnatic just looking to put a little bit of shallow vision, try to contest the river on C9's bases, and try to find angles and windows into these objective fights. Front to back right now favoring C9 because of the gold lead, of course, and the 2-item Jynx.
And I really like this second item that just came online here for Fudge, the Thorn Mail. One of the problems with the Bramble Vest is it's a Grievous Wounds item that your opponent has to opt in to taking the Grievous Wounds. They have to hit you. But the Thorn Mail allows him to apply it, and they're going to be needing to apply it to kill through this Soraka. Hylissang gets away as Razork provides cover. He throws down the terrain of Cataclysm, so C9 cannot chase. But Fnatic, now without that Jarvan ulti, that's a tool that C9 doesn't have to respect for the next 60 seconds.
Yeah, C9 now moving into this top side jungle, see if they can get a little bit of vision down. Baron's up in 20 seconds. Not sure if C9 can start it up on the spot. The Jynx is rather fast, but I think Fnatic can find an avenue into contested. It's quite early on, but Razork
getting jumped on now. He tries to get away. That cancel was beautiful. 20-minute Barons are tough, Cadril, but when the enemy jungler's dead, they become a little easier.
Oh, they definitely do. Now C9 will start this up. They'll TP in with Fudge. This Baron is as good as gone. Fnatic can try to fight this 4v5, but they might be running into their own death here. Jensen's quite low on mana and has no ultimate. The Baron will die. Can C9 get out?
Jensen does have the blue buff stolen away from Fnatic. Blaber's left to the Baron. It is secured by C9, and Upset is going to get jumped on. Blaber beats him over the head with the club as Fudge tanks 3. Upset still getting away. Fudge should die here to Fnatic as Upset gets out. Jensen protecting the tank. Wunder continues forward and flashes back out. C9 regrouped as 5 in hot pursuit. Fudge leads the way, and C9 gets another.
They get the Baron, they get out, and they get a kill as a consolation prize as well. C9, after that pick, execute it perfectly. They stay together, they manage to get Upset summoners as well, and this all comes off the back of this pick. So the polymorph onto Razork, watch this shockwave. Jensen just pulls the trigger the second he sees the combo, pulls Razork back in. Even if he flashes there, C9 can gap close and get the kill. The start of the Baron happens. Fnatic a little bit split here. Hylissang ideally would want to be with Upset, but Upset's next to Wunder. C9 force Humanoid out. They finish the Baron, then they turn.
One of my favorite things to do in a game of League of Legends is look at the smallest thing, the individual button push that made the biggest difference. And that shockwave from Jensen was just massive. Fudge also playing this beautifully, knowing exactly what his limits are.
He is so damn tanky, isn't it? And C9 force out upsets flash, then they come back to help out their top laner. Wunder does a good job here to avoid the knockup, but there's just no damage to help him out. As much as Hylissang can keep him alive, he's out of mana, and he's out of position. C9 now. Will this be first tier 2 tower for NA at Worlds? They're gonna start hitting it on, and Fnatic have no way to defend it. C9!
Die, you stupid turret! Die, die, die!
First tier 2 picked up. Now they're sieging the tier 3. Fudge is pushing in mid up against Humanoid.
Blaber is just charging in. They are trying to hard force this. The turret stays alive. C9 have gone a little bit too far, but Fnatic will only get the 1 kill back on the jungler. Fudge fires off a big ulti as Hilly tries to get away and barely lives himself. C9 have leveled the playing field 4v4.
No flash.
Upset has no flash. He has no way out. And now Fnatic have no AD carry.
They're gonna get this bot in it 22 minutes into the game. 20 seconds on Wunder, 30 seconds on Upset. They have a small wave to look for the end. We'll see if Humanoid can clear it out, but C9 looking for the Nexus towers.
C9 are bloodthirsty. It is 23 minutes into the game. Berserker will die underneath the turret, and C9 has to back up. Jensen nearly out of mana. Zven and Fudge very low on HP.
TP.
The game will not end here, but a TP from Wunder may cut them off. The Maokai ulti is not ready. Cloud9 still trying to get away from this one. The goal is to exfiltrate with as few losses as possible. Zven the target here at the start.
Blaber's back.
Blaber's coming around trying to help him. Wunder leads the way, but the subjugate on the tree is going to make him a little squishier. Razork tries to fall back as Wunder continues distracting, but Blaber still chasing. Fudge bellows breath, takes Hilly out finally as he tries to get back away from Razork, who just goes straight to his death. Here comes Humanoid. There goes Humanoid. Another rocket from another state away.
C9 stands strong, and the reinforcements come in just in time. Does Jensen take down with the Landry's? No, he lived. Only Zven falls. Blaber fell initially, and Berserker fell too. The reinforcements from both sides came in, but C9 win the fight. They get 4 kills on the back half of that play. And with Dragon up in 2 minutes, they're going to set up on this bot side. They didn't get a Nexus tower, but they're on soul point. This was a hell of a long fight, and it all started with Wunder coming around on the flank, looking for Zven, of course, as the initial pick, because he's quite low on HP. Razork can't really gap close with the EQ, and by the time he looks for it, Blaber has shown up. Look on the minimap, because Upset's on the way. Berserker's still dead, and then Humanoid will TP in a little bit later on. It looks good initially for Fnatic with the first kill onto the Lulu, but Wunder, he just can't get any help here. Great turn by Fudge to kill Hylissang and shut down Razork.
Where was this Cloud9 team the past week? This does not even look like the same squad. They have been playing beautifully as a team, setting these up, finding these timings, working together and communicating. Holy cow, they are turning on now when they absolutely must.
This comp is just, as much as it might not be something they ran so much in playoffs, more so like carry-orientated top sides, and with the hyper-carry spot like Zeri and Sivir, Jynx fits that. She fits that kind of concept, and C9 with just scaling teamfights seem to all be on the same page. It's much easier to execute a comp like this than playing carries top and having Blaber hover for a Fiora Jax, getting your side lane ahead, playing from side to mid. This is just raw teamfight, group mid and engage, and C9 are loving it.
Well, they still have to end the game, my friend. They can't celebrate until that Nexus falls. Tier 2 turret, all 3 of them are now nothing but rubble. C9 backing away. The Baron will spawn in about 30 seconds. They know that they can go for a recall, group up, force that objective, and Fnatic either has to take the fight in open ground or sit back and wait for the inevitable bulldozer coming to their base.
Over a 10,000 gold lead right now for C9. You can see the item difference. I mean, Jensen just picked up a Rabadon's death cap. Fudge, top damage on C9 right now.
Yeah.
The Ornn base damage is through the roof.
The classic AP mage tank hybrid assassin,
Bruiser,
DPS
bard,
frontliner, bruiser,
assassin.
sorcerer, cleric, druid
Yeah,
of Ornn.
The whole thing.
He's just incredible. He does it all. Get Ornn for your next team comp today as C9. They set up vision, they sweep away Fnatic's wards, and they'll have control over the Baron pit.
I think after this mid wave here, C9 can push this mid wave in, stop Fnatic from getting it in, and then just look for a Baron start and look to turn. But with 10 seconds on the Dragon, the easier play is just to walk towards this bot side.
Oh, they're not going to interrupt the EQ from Jarvan this time. They end up knocking him up just a little bit too early before the Dragoon Strike connects with the flag, and that means he's getting away. But C9 are getting their way onto the Baron. Fnatic are not coming to contest. They're just going to stop the Soul instead. So a single Cloud Drake traded away for a Baron. You'll take that trade any day of the week.
Yeah, C9 playing it a little bit safe here. The rocket connects, but the Dragon will not fall. Objective bounding over to Fnatic. I think they'll lose the Nexus Tower here. Fudge is TPing into the base. He recognizes that their base timers are skewed. How much can he get done here?
Fudge is alone. Nobody else is close enough just yet. Now he's finally back to the rest of the team. They're pushing down top side here with the Baron. They'll take out the tier 3. Now they're ready to fight. Razork goes into the back. He's got 2 locked down, but Humanoid's already gone. Jensen, unstoppable. Cloud9 finding the fight they need to end the game, and Razork will fall second. Wunder will do nothing, and C9 are going to find the first win of the group stage for North America.
They've done it! They've only gone and done it! Better late than never!
C9 show up in week 2, and they will find the win against Fnatic.
Oh, C9's going to have a long day ahead of them. If they lost this one, they were out, but now they've got 2 games left ahead of them. If they can clean sweep a 3-0, then they might be able to force a tiebreaker. And on the opposite side here for Fnatic, they're now sitting at 2-2. T1 and EDG are at 2-1, so this hurts Fnatic a little bit in the sense that next game, they really got to beat T1. Where even if they lose that, they really got to beat EDG to get to that 3-win sweet spot.
The pressure is on for both teams now. As Cloud9, they've got to be feeling relief. They've got to be feeling glad that they found something that worked this well. The first week was so rough. And for all the North American fans here in the audience, that is not just the start that you wanted, that's the start that was demanded for them to have any chance.
Definitely was, and momentum is such a powerful thing. The only ever time I think we've seen this was Fnatic when they had that disastrous week 1 in Worlds with the groups, with the Immortals and such, and then they managed to pull it back, went 3-3, won the tiebreaker, got through. Still a long way for C9, but this is the first step on that journey.
And considering we're in week 2 now, that means every day fully resolves a group. We'll be seeing plenty more of both these teams. Fnatic plays again next. They are going to have to shake off this game. All right, this was not a good one. They fell behind early. They stayed behind. The game ended pretty swiftly. They just got to be able to look past this one, wipe that off, and go into the next game ready to go.
Yeah, mental is also a very powerful thing. You really don't want to get in your own head, especially on a day where you're playing 3 games guaranteed and you're the first game of the day and you're playing second game as well. So you need to make sure that you can bounce back from these losses incredibly quickly, because you get in your own head, you start self-doubt creeps in, and was this really worth picking? Was this really worth picking? And I think C9 just came into this this week 2 of group stage with such a clear plan. Scaling, team fight, we'll go out with a bang. We'll see if we can play these hyper carries and these scaling stuff. It worked, and they're going to stick to it.
It worked in the overall game plan. It worked in the individual moments. Jensen's shockwave on Razork in the middle of the EQ combo in the blue side Fnatic jungle that got them the Baron. That is still my button push of the game. That is the one button that sealed Fnatic's fate.
Counter gangs bot by Blaber, the snipes from Berserker onto Humanoid, turning winning plays for Fnatic into even plays for C9. Then by the time you get to the fight, C9 just slap them with their wallets. You can see the early steady gold lead. No real big mistakes, no real big throws, no real big moments of doubt coming in for C9. Just a steady, easy winning game. Bot 3v3, mid push to side, secure towers, and now 1-3. First win for NA at Worlds.
Fudge looked good on Ornn too. You saw the damage charts. Humanoid tied him, Jensen beat him. He had either the 2nd or 3rd highest damage in the game by the end of it on this tank. And honestly, just incredible stuff from Cloud9 here in game number 1. But North American fans, do not unclench. They still have a long way to go. And for Fnatic fans, they'll be playing again next. So we got to see if they can bounce back. A reminder, the World's 2022 Event Pass has launched. So fans around the world can support their favorite teams in the Rift and in real life. You can claim rewards and collect 2022 tokens to exchange for exclusive content like prestige skins and chromas. And to top it all off, 25% of the pass proceeds will be added to the world's prize pool. You love to see it, you love to celebrate it, and now we are joining Rhuckz and the Fudge Factor for our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you very much, Captain. I'm here with Fudge after C9 booked their first win at the World Championship. I think if you look up the definition of statement game, they'll have a picture of you after this. How happy are you with just getting the first win, first off?
I'm definitely very happy that we got the first win. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure and stress. But the reality is if we end the day 1-2, I'm still not going to be happy. So what I'm focused on is winning the next 2 games.
I love that. Of course, that's what it's all about. I am going to give you a chance just because last week I had a Wunder interview, so I'm just going to open up the floor and ask you how sweet it is to get your first win for NA, in NA, against EU.
Yeah, he was shit-talking me a little bit in the pre-game lobby, so it's kind of funny, but I mean, I think it's all fun and banter. I don't really mind, obviously. It's just his personality, and I'm happy that we got to beat EU especially because they seem to be egoing a little bit on NA. But to be fair, they are playing better than us, so we just want to prove that NA is also a really good region and we deserve to be a major region, and that's what we're trying to prove here.
Awesome. About the game plan in terms of draft, I know there's a lot that's been said about your top priorities, etc. What would you say the key was in draft specifically, and then in your approach to the game?
I think we're all really comfortable on these champions. I think we also just had a better draft, and they seem to fall apart really quickly after the early game. So, you know, played a team fighting comp, and we got ahead early game. So it's a free win.
It was super convincing. You talked already about it. It's about the rest of the day now. You don't want to go out today. You want to stay here in front of these fans. So how are you going to make sure that you can channel all of what you showed here throughout what could be a very long day?
Obviously, I think it's going to be harder to beat EDG and T1, but I do think that they also make a lot of mistakes. T1 has lost to Fnatic, EDG has lost to T1, so I think it's possible for us to beat them because we have beaten Fnatic, so...
Yeah, that's how it works.
But I don't want to get overconfident. I do think that we still have to play extremely focused like we did against Fnatic just now, so we just need to focus on what we need to do.
Cool. I love your mentality. Congratulations. Huge victory for Fudge and for C9. And we're going to kick it over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Emily, I don't know if it's you returning to the desk or the Hopium, but it's working! It's working! Cloud9 get the first win for North America here at Worlds. And not only do they get the first win, they get the first tier 2.
I remember someone saying that C9 were not going to take a tier 2 turret.
I don't think it was just C9. You said North America was going to get a tier 2.
I'm not going to lie. Between the RNG hot take and now this, I just need to stop. I just really need to stop putting myself in these positions because it hasn't gone well for me a single time.
So while we jest, I want to talk about this draft here and return to Emily's blueprint for Cloud9. There were only 2 points that you put down, but both of them I feel like were hit in this first game of the day.
Yeah, so the 2 points I put down were comfort picks and then late game teamfight options around Berserker. We saw exactly that in this draft here. And the 2 I really want to point out actually are Jensen's Orianna, which anyone who watches the LCS regularly will know what a comfort, amazing champion that is for Jensen.
We're glad that pick was re-enabled.
Yeah, exactly. And then I want to point out the Lulu for Zven as well, right? Because he has looked a lot more comfortable and confident on a lot of these Enchanter supports. Yuumi was banned out actually by C9 themselves. And then so it was really cool to see them go back to hyper carry, Zven on the Lulu, which he's really comfortable on, and then the Jensen Orianna.
Yeah, not only was the Yuumi banned, I also want to point out that the Azir was banned. So the first time the Humanoid does not get his hands on the Azir, he gets pushed to the Viktor in the matchup against Jensen's Orianna. But picks are one thing, play is another. And up to this point, NA has not delivered. But in this game, Dagda, fairly early on, NA gets first blood.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the way that C9 were playing this, right? You can see Blaber was setting up for this play on bot side, and Fnatic knew what they were getting into, but they stumbled, they don't set it up properly. And from that, C9 are very good at executing then on the rest of the map, right? They're setting up well here for the Rift Herald, catching Fnatic where they hadn't quite got members in position, and that was where C9 really started to blow up in this game.
I was really nervous about this play, actually, because I didn't think they set up as well as they could for that Herald, but getting the level 6 on the Trundle was so massive in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, luckily having his W down when he smites, 4 health, then the Rift Herald dies, get a percentage of that, then you level, and you get to ult to Maokai. Like, absolutely everything lined up to kind of get C9 through that middle portion of the game. But with that lead, they looked a heck of a lot more confident, particularly around a number of these global objectives.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job here of starting to set up themselves for success, right? Focusing these early dragons. And the big thing as well, looking at this, is how well they're able to punish Fnatic. Fnatic here are trying to go, right, we're going to cross map here for Dragon, we're going to send Upset up towards the top side, but you can see even then the decision making around this wasn't fully there. Upset had started his recall, he doesn't have the Jarvan up there from Razork to help him out, and then they catch Hilly. And this comes back to bite them Fnatic later on again, where once more they're trying to cross map mid tower for top tower. They don't actually get they get the top tower, sure, but Hilly, because that flash had been burned earlier, ended up going down again. So every time we saw Fnatic try to go, okay, let's try and find something because we can't really team fight right now, they end up blundering, they end up stumbling, and they're giving more resources over to C9.
Yeah, so I mean, it can look like a minor thing, right? It's a simple flash blown, but you capitalize on that 3 to 5 minutes later, and it ends up blowing the whole game open. And again, we'll have to mention too that Cloud9 really put their foot on the gas. A very early Baron take into that push down the bot side. And I think we even saw it in the interview with Fudge, somebody who's normally very happy to be, you know, to trash talk, to speak confidently about their chances while he still looks confident. That was a more reserved Fudge than I've ever seen, because he knows how much work they still have left to do.
Yeah, he knows how much work they still have to do, and obviously I think they really, the pressure is on, not just to make it out of this group, but because North America has done so poorly thus far at this event. They get that first win for the region, and now we'll see how the rest of the group goes.
Hugely important win for Cloud9 and their chances of making it out of this group, but still plenty of work to be done.
The crab counter.
Now,
beautiful.
Oh, I love it. We're already up to
too.
3. Now, as we go to break, here is how the Fnatic fans in London were reacting to the Cloud9 match. Fnatic will need all of their fans behind them, because on the other side is our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. It sees Fnatic facing off against FLICKR and all of T1. We'll see you back here in just a bit.
Holy shit, I'm so unleashed today. Like, no joke, this is gonna be a complete distraction. Nice. Guys, put some respect on Cloud9's name. I know America hasn't won a single game, that doesn't mean they're really, really bad, okay?
It's Blaber who's having to walk away from it now. Razork, he goes for a bad flag, and C9 gets first blood of the Fnatic jungle, and Razork will fall second. Wunder will do nothing, and C9 are gonna find the first win of the group stage for North America.
Behind 21 epic days of epicness. Behind 1 billion hours of drop jaws. Behind every match, every broadcast, every moment at League of Legends World Championship 2022 is the network capable of making it all happen. The Cisco Network, aka The Realm. Cisco, powering the future of esports.
Nothing but a green light ready to roll. Only you, you're the one that I want. Only you, you're the one that I want. You got me feeling so free. Got me feeling so
Waking up at midnight, dreaming all day long. Maybe I'm nocturnal, baby, maybe I was wrong. Been on both sides now, looking for you. Don't feel the pain when I'm asleep, find peace in all this blue. It's shake, shake, shaking me to the core. It's break, break, breaking me like waves on the shore. Keep crash, crash, crashing into the truth. With both eyes closed, I'll be right next to you. To you, I'll be right next to you. Light up like a constellation. Somewhere in the black, I can feel your hand. Hold on to a love worth saving. Shake, shake, shaking me to the core. It's break, break, breaking me like waves on the shore. Crash, crash, crashing into the truth. With both eyes closed, I'll be right next to you. To you.